Okay, guys, so I woke up this morning wanting a new guest on Off the Record. So right now I'm outside of Jordan's house. Let's see what he's doing and if he wants to come on the pod.
Hey,
Hey, Jordan.
what are y'all up to?
I was driving around the area and I just wanted to know if you'd be down to come on the pod.
Yeah, I mean, a heads up would have been awesome. I was just about to hop in the bubble bath, but yeah, let me just go throw some clothes on and some pants, and yeah, we could do a podcast.
Yay!
So,
You heard it here.
I'll go get dressed.
Let's do it.
I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm good. Does my hair look okay?
Great.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I wish I was more prepared. I was thinking we could just do it in here. It's it's not much, but I figured this would be just a good spot to do the podcast. So yeah, again, sorry, it's not the perfect setup or anything.
Yeah, we can work with this.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
This is great.
Perfect. Awesome.
Oh my gosh, Jordan. I'm so sorry to interrupt your bubble bath.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'll take one afterwards.
I woke up this morning and I was determined. I'm like, let me just, go drive around Jordan's neighborhood and see what he's doing.
Yeah.
All jokes aside, no, thank you so much for making time to come on to the podcast. And I know it's not a world that's strange, like foreign to you because you have your own podcast.
Yeah.
What's Your Limp? Shout out. I'm super glad to have you. And it's so cool because for the people who can't see this right now who are listening to the episode, we're literally sitting inside of Jordan's like cool, I don't even know how to classify this room. Like, what would you call it? I know it's your office, but like...
I mean, it was the dining room when we moved in, but then I converted it to my office, and it's like where I house my Blu-ray collection and all of my trinkets and posters and pictures and stuff like that. So it's
so cool.
Just where I keep all of my stuff.
Especially for like cinephiles, like it's just a perfect room.
Yeah.
So we're literally sitting in your house right now. What have you been up to these days during the off season, and what does home mean to you while we're sitting in your home right now, like these days?
I mean, it's in the off season, I'm always doing something. I'm always like either working on the podcast or writing or, just reaching out to people, taking meetings. Just I'm very aggressive in pursuing, like relationships with people that I want to work with and finding projects. So I do a lot of that. I was just in South by Southwest at the film festival, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, home is, I've always lived in Texas, or I lived in LA for like 10 years on and off. But Texas has always been home, and it's nice being, I'm only 20 minutes from set. I'm really close to my family and Stacy's family. And it's really nice, like in the off season, to be able to, take the kids to school every day and pick them up every day and help with their lunches. And if they have an event at school, I get to be there for most of it because we usually are shooting in the summer and then like a little bit into the fall, but usually most of the school year I'm home. So it's really cool getting to be really hands-on as a parent.
I bet. And it's super cool to see because you and Stacey are both so great at that.
Thanks.
So it's cool to see that the kids get to spend more time with you because it's not like conventional to have a father actor, right? Like for most kids. So I'm so glad that you get to do that. And you mentioned the film fest that you were at, in Austin. Any cool stories or run-ins while you were down there?
There was so many like great films and screenings that we went to. I was there with Liz, Mary Magdalene, and her husband Stan, and we went to. I know, it's so much fun, and they went to all the same like screenings, and I saw several films that like friends of mine had screening there. Ryan Pauly and Matt Black are two filmmaker friends who had a horror film called Monitor, which was really cool. I have another friend, Graham Patrick Martin, whose film that he produced won the jury award at South by. It was Wishful Thinking with Lewis Pullman and Maya Hawke.
Love Maya Hawke.
Yeah. And then I saw, I forget her last name, but Terry something. She's one of the cops on Reno 911.
Okay.
I went up to her because she played Lewis Pullman's mom in that film. And as I was leaving, I saw her and I was just like, hey, Terry, I just wanted to come up and say hi and thank you because I was a dead body on Reno 911 and all of you were so nice to me and it was my first job in LA. So thank you for that. And she remembered, which was cool. She was like, thank you for being our corpse. So that was a fun run in. But
so cool.
yeah, there was a lot of, it's just like, I love that environment. That's where I feel like the most, I guess, creatively fulfilled is and like energized, where whenever I leave a film festival or a screening, I'm like, this is why I got into this line of work. Like, I want to be a part of these kind of stories and films and work with these people. So yeah, it was energizing.
It's super cool for you, especially because you said, being a creative, it like gives you that energy. And you mentioned in the off season, you do writing, you're not just focused on acting. You love the storytelling part of it. And I do want to talk about that a little later, about the creative side of everything. But before we get there, I mean, biggest thing happening right now, you are known as Little James on a show that is making a global impact everywhere, right? So people are seeing that, but what people don't see is what it took for you to get to where you are right now. What would you say? Like, I can't even imagine what the journey's like. I know it wasn't easy. So what would you say has been one of the most like difficult moments in your life that you've had to overcome to get to your like success today?
Man, it's tricky. Like, I think I could point to any like period of my life or stage of my life and be like, oh yeah, that was a really hard thing. I'd say like right leading up to booking The Chosen, I was in a stage where like I was working at this acting school, KD Conservatory in Dallas. That's where I graduated. And I was doing some like substitute teaching and doing some like the teen and kids classes and then working admissions there. And it was one of those things that like we were just kind of living paycheck to paycheck and I needed some sort of like consistent income because like acting was not paying the bills. And it was something that like on one hand it was sparking that passion in me because I was around all of these young actors that I'm enrolling into a college that I had graduated from 8 years earlier. And I'm enrolling them in this school and like telling them about the business and, why they should pursue it if it's something that they love. And like, it's better to try and to like fail than to not try at all. Like, go for it. If you love it, shoot your shot. And as I'm doing all of that, I was just kind of in this mindset of like, yeah, but I've failed. I haven't realized my dreams of making a living as an actor. And yeah, that was like, there were so many days driving to or from work that I would just like break down in the car, or I would, just feel like I wasn't good enough or like I messed up somewhere. I missed my opportunity. And then I got the audition for The Chosen, and my office there, I had like this little office and back in the admissions area. And in that building, they used to hold, and they still do, they hold auditions there for like Dallas projects and indies and a lot of commercials and stuff. They hold auditions there where casting directors will come rent out like our office space for that. And I got an audition notice for The Chosen, and I didn't know what it was. It's just like a historical drama. And I was about to decline it because I had a busy day the day of the audition, and I hadn't booked anything in like 5 years. And then I saw that the location was in my building from like here to my front door. That's how far the room was that they were holding the auditions. Wow. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll just go do this audition in between my meetings and like tours of the school and just knock it out really quick. So I did. And I think that gave me like an added, like almost confidence or comfortability, because I was like, oh, this is it's almost like they came to my house to audition me. Because that was like the room I would eat lunch in whenever I, like if I didn't want to sit in the faculty room, and I would go sit and eat lunch in that empty office space. And so I went and auditioned and then got the call back and then booked it. And, that was 2018. So it was 8 years ago now almost. And yeah, from that moment, everything has changed. So it was just one of those times of like, don't ever give up. I picture that comic strip of like, there's a guy that's been digging. It's like a long tunnel. And then he's turned around and walking back because he's giving up. But right on the other side of the dirt, you see there's like diamonds in this little like cavern where he was like this close. If he just like kept going, he would have broken through. So that's like what I pictured with The Chosen, where I was just so discouraged. I felt stuck. I didn't know what to do. But you just got to keep your head down and like keep going, because all it takes is that like one opportunity that like opens up all of the other doors.
That's so inspiring. And you said, like, there's a 5-year drought of getting a role, and
Yeah.
then you're in your comfort zone and you're like, okay, I mean, I might as well just do it. And sometimes you do better knowing that there isn't that pressure on you, because you're just like, okay, like it's not like do or die for
Yeah.
me, because you're just being yourself. But you've been like an advocate. You've been very vocal about your journey, in particular, your unique journey with someone who has however you want to, specify it, if it's
Yeah.
a disability or a condition, anything, because we all have something that we're carrying,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But for you, how has that shaped your journey
Yeah.
along the way, just even as a young kid wanting to become an actor?
I mean, I think it's like we are all born into whatever the circumstances are. So, if you are going through the world with darker skin compared to lighter skin, you're going to have a totally different experience, and able-bodied versus disabled. And so it was like growing up, as a little kid, I knew I walked different because I could see it. I could see other kids walk, different from how I walked. But it wasn't like a negative thing. But then over time, you start to see like there's not really anyone that looks like you or walks like you, or has like your specific body type or whatever it is on TV or in film. And if there is a character that's walking different, it's usually an actor that is able-bodied playing the character, or like has prosthetics on or whatever. So you start to notice little things like that, where it's like, oh, I'm not really, I don't have something to point at and be like, oh, I can make it as an actor, like because that person did. And as I've gotten, older, and I've gotten more embedded in the disabled community of actors, I've found so many actors that I never realized had a disability, or that I didn't know about because maybe they weren't mainstream, and now I've gotten to know them or know of them, and that's been really cool. But yeah, it definitely shaped me. There was, and still to this day, there's always been. I think it shaped me in a lot of different ways. Like, one is that just going in and out of the hospital my whole life, and like going through so many different surgeries and a coma and like near death experiences, that teaches you to kind of a certain level of humility, like accepting that there's a lot that's out of your control. Being able to, like, I don't worry about a lot. I'm not a super anxious person in the grand scheme of things, where I'm pretty go with the flow, where if there's something bad that's going to happen, I'll cross that bridge whenever I get there. Because that's kind of like what I had to do growing up. Like there was a lot of scary moments, and I had to just kind of be like, okay, let's just do our best and try to get through it. And I think that has served me well as an actor, that kind of like go with the flow mentality, pretty glass half full person, because I've been through worse. So it's like, if things ever do get bad professionally or as an actor or whatever, I can look back and be like, okay, I've gotten through way worse than this. I'll figure this out too. And then, just the being bullied or the rejection in the film industry, like they didn't really know as a teenager what box to put me in as an actor, because my disability is minor enough that it's like some people will be friends with me for months and not really notice, and then one day they're just like, wait, why are you walking like that? And then other people notice right away. So it's like, it's kind of that weird middle ground of like not disabled enough for the disabled characters, but too disabled for the able-bodied characters. So it's hard. It was especially hard then, back in like the teens, to kind of find that box to put me in as an actor. So yeah, I dealt with a lot of insecurities and rejection issues and doubts from that. But again, all of that builds character, and has made me really passionate about advocating for others, whether it's the disabled community or anyone else that's facing any sort of discrimination or unfair treatment. So,
Well, there's so much that I want to touch upon from everything you just said. And it's so inspiring that you are vocal, because, like, Jordan, I know you know this, but I'm just saying it for the listeners. Like, it means a lot to so many people what you do, because there's more people than we know out there struggling with something like that, whether
Yeah.
it is a disability or a health condition, that could really change the trajectory of like a lot of things or opportunities or your self-confidence.
Yeah.
But the first thing I want to touch upon, there, like I said, so many, but one of them is like obviously that jumps out most, and I'm sure to listeners, where it's like, wait, what? Like coma, near-death
Yeah.
experience? And I know we've seen the pictures. You're so good at like making light of like the dark humor and
Yeah.
like the jokes, and I'm the same way. Like I can make fun of myself very easily and like do those things. And so I appreciate that you have this like sense of humor about so many things, and that I think helps you not be anxious. Like you said, you don't approach
Yeah.
things with like this high anxiety. I think your humor helps with a lot of that.
For sure.
But what was this? Like how did you, I know listeners are gonna be what got you to the coma and a near death experience?
Well, so my like the cerebral palsy and scoliosis was just a small. Like I had a lot of surgeries from those two things, and caused some issues. But the main reason for my frequent hospital visits was my asthma, and I have always had really, really severe asthma. So from age like probably 5 until I was about 18, I was hospitalized. Like I'd go to the hospital probably 6 times a year just for asthma. And then I was hospitalized probably 3 or 4 times a year for, usually it was about a week that I was in the hospital each time with asthma. Sometimes more if I was in ICU, because often it would turn into pneumonia. So yeah, there was several times as a kid that the asthma was so bad, and my mom would be like rushing me to the hospital, and I, was seconds away from passing out, and like not knowing what if I would wake up. Like there was a lot of that and scary moment. There was, a young kid. I was probably 11 in ICU at Cook Children's in Fort Worth. And in the ICU there's like, it's almost looks like an emergency room, because they need to be able to come in and out of the rooms really quickly, and like, to do life-saving procedures if necessary. And the kid that was sharing this room with me, we had like a curtain between us, but we were both the same age, both in the hospital for asthma and pneumonia. And we couldn't really play or talk because we could barely breathe, but we were there together. Our parents would talk, and we'd watch like the same cartoon that was on TV. And he ended up passing away one night while I was in the bed 6 feet away. And that was like horrifying as a kid. So there was a lot of that kind of stuff that I went through. And then when I was 18, I had just moved to LA. It was literally 10 days after I turned 18. And I had graduated from school early. I had been living out there on and off, but this was like my first official move out there. And where I was like, this is gonna be my home base. And I got sick. I got a cold, and then it turned to pneumonia, and went to the hospital. And it was the same thing. Like I'd call my mom. I'd been there before, like in that situation. It was my first time going without my mom though. And so I called her, told her what was happening. She was worried, but also she was so used to it too. So it was like, okay, just keep me updated. Let me know when you get a room. If I need to fly out there, I will. Just like keep me updated on everything. And yeah, then it just, I had friends that were there with me, like trying to, just be supportive. And then I ended up just taking a quick turn downhill, and I ended up like my oxygen dropped. I started having like, my body was seizing up. And then all of a sudden I'm surrounded by nurses and doctors putting tubes in me and IVs. And I woke up, I mean, I was in and out of it for 2 weeks. But I woke up 2 weeks later, and then it took another 2 weeks to kind of fully come back and realize what had happened. And then it was another month after that I was in the hospital recovering, going through rehab, physical rehab. And, I also got a staph infection from that first hospital. So that took a while to recover from. So yeah, that was great. I lost like 30 something pounds in the coma. It was, yeah, I had to learn to walk again. Lost my sense of taste for a while. So yeah, that was one of the craziest experiences
And
I've
how
been
old
through.
were you again during this
I was
time?
18.
After being in and out of those types of very severe situations
Yeah.
from a young age, I mean, you witnessed a death, someone in your age range in there for the same thing as you. You went in and out of ICU or emergency like situations. How did that not, or maybe it did? I mean, I wanna know, how did that impact you mentally? How did you not have panic or anxiety or those things? Because I'm telling you straight up, I'll faint once and I'm going to be panicking for
Yeah.
like a little while afterwards and be like, I'm going to faint, I'm going to faint. How did you not do, I don't know, like
Yeah.
how do you handle it the way you do?
It's interesting. Like there's still fear and anxiety about things sometimes. Like my wife, the first time she saw me really sick, it was actually the last time I was hospitalized with asthma. It was, let's see, probably a little over 10 years, like 12 years ago, I think. We were in Ohio visiting her family. It was really cold. I got sick. It turned into pneumonia again. Um, and I woke up one night, my asthma was not subsiding. I was using my nebulizer and I was like, I need to get to the ER. But the roads were like covered in ice. So she's like going as fast as she can to get me there, but like can't go too fast. We're like fishtailing everywhere. She was kind of feeling panicked and I kept telling her like, it feels almost like you're breathing through like a coffee straw, like you're barely getting
Yep.
any oxygen. So you're just like,
Yep.
it almost feels like you're drowning. And I was trying to like, we were in the car and I didn't know if I was going to make it. Like I thought it felt like we were so far away from the hospital and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I love you. And was just trying to like let her know in case something happened. And that was scary. Like I was definitely anxious. But it's also, I feel, a sense of kind of like surrender in those moments where like I think because I've gone to that place where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna make it, and then I something like I wake up 2 weeks later after the coma, or I end up pulling through, and it's something that I just kind of like am letting everything kind of take care of itself and trusting the process. And it's like if it is my time sometime, like I'm always going to do everything I can to not to protect myself and to make sure that I can be around as long as possible for my family and for my friends and to keep doing what I do. But if it ever is my time, I've also like I think at a young age, and it may be kind of a sad thought to think of a kid thinking this way, but I've always kind of been at peace with the idea that like I can't control when it's my time, and there's only so much I can do. So I'd rather spend my time just trying to like enjoy myself and make the people around me feel loved, rather than stressing too much about whether or not I'm gonna make it, or whether or not I'm gonna live another 50 years or 60 or whatever. So I think it gave me context. Like we fear what we don't know. Like there's a reason movies like Jaws is so scary, because you rarely ever see the shark, and it's like this unknown presence, and that's kind of death for everyone. I think is when if you haven't faced death or had a near death experience, I feel like naturally it's scarier, because you're like, you don't know what it's going to feel like, what it's going to be like. And the times I have kind of blacked out or like went into the coma, it was scary, but there's still a moment of almost
It starts
calmness
becoming a
or
known
peace.
to you because
Yeah.
it happens so
Yeah.
much.
And
It's harder to do what you do though. It's harder to surrender and let go than want it. Naturally, any human, like our human nature is like, we're going to stress and want to control and take like and try to figure it. And so the fact that you've gotten to that point where you're able to surrender and you're able to be like, hey, like that's really powerful. How do you not and this is more like advice for all of us, not just listeners, but every single one of us, like everyone. How do you not let those things stop you, or I don't know, like deter you from like going and driving long distance just by yourself, or doing things alone without people around you? Because I fear if that happened, if I went through what you went through to that severity, I'd be too afraid to be alone or do those things alone again, because now I'm like waiting for that to happen.
I think I probably accredit that too. I mean, because there are moments like I'm an anxious attached person when it comes to relationships. So there's abandonment fears and things like that for sure that I could probably trace back to some of the medical issues. But in general, I also have a very strong independence that I had at a really young age. And I think it's because my mom didn't put me in a bubble that she could have very easily. And I would have understood, especially as a parent,
Yeah.
the if she had, because it's like if your kid's going through all that, like you just want to protect them and make sure it doesn't happen again. But I'm grateful that she protected me from that as well, because I think that if she had done that, I would have been a lot more afraid. But what she did was like let me go out in the world and explore and get into trouble and climb trees, and like I've always been a little bit of a daredevil, and like I love
You're always injured doing the
Yeah.
craziest things.
and I love like one of my favorite hobbies as a kid and as an adult is exploring abandoned buildings. Like I love things that are a little bit dangerous and like probably not the wisest thing to do. But yeah, I think it was that like that I had that freedom to just kind of make mistakes and figure out my limits. That's another big thing where I know now what my limits are as far as my asthma goes, as far as my hip, my back. Like I know when they're going to start hurting. I know my body and when I need to rest. And it was because my mom gave me the freedom to kind of figure all that out and the confidence that, oh, I can do this. It may be a little bit harder for me. My legs work, I think my doctor said it's like 3 times as hard as an able-bodied person to kind of make up for the length difference. So it's like I know all of that about me now, and I think it's because my mom gave me that freedom to learn it.
So sweet, and that is important, I think, especially as parents, to sort of let your kids sort of trial and error, live, like do those things, and just let them know I'm here for you when you need it, but like go do you. I said earlier that there was so much I wanted to touch upon, like a few responses of yours ago, right? Going back to that, you mentioned something that also popped out at me is like you growing up, you didn't see people with disabilities much, like, there wasn't a lot of that representation on screen.
Yeah.
And if there was, like you said, it was an able-bodied person doing it. So what did that do to you as a young kid wanting to become an actor?
Yeah.
How did that shape your idea of like, can I do this? Is there even a spot for me out there? Like, how did you navigate that?
Yeah, that was interesting. I didn't really think much about it at first. All I knew, again, credit to my mom, she just fully, as soon as I found it, I started acting actually almost walking distance from where we live now at Main Street Theater in Mansfield.
How old were you?
6 years old, and now it's called the Dan Farr Theater, and we went with friends to do an audition for A Christmas Carol, and I ended up auditioning for Tiny Tim. I wasn't planning on auditioning at all. We were just there for support, and I got the part. And then ever since then, I did like 4 straight years of A Christmas Carol there, and I loved it. Like from that moment on, I was like, I want to just do plays. Like I want to be in theater. And I did from age 6 to like probably 16, 45 professional productions.
So cool.
Throughout Texas and
So cool.
a couple in California. And my mom would drive me to all the auditions and drive me to all of the rehearsals and performances. And in theater, it was different, like where I never felt like I didn't book a role because of my disability. Like it's such an inclusive environment, and it's such it embraces you and your differences, and it was something that like I was playing Huckleberry Finn in Huck Finn at Casa Manana in Fort Worth, and there were some dance moves that I couldn't physically do, so they're like, okay, cool, we'll adjust and it's fine. And so that helped build my confidence as an actor because I got a lot of practice. And then once I came up against kind of the resistance in Hollywood or in the film and TV industry, it was hard because at that point I had confidence as an actor and I had the experience as an actor to know, oh, I can do this. Like I know how to do it. I've done it now for, ever since I was 6. But then it was hard to kind of deal with the idea that now I didn't have a place for it in the film industry. and yeah, it was something I had to kind of figure out, and I kind of became determined to just find my own place. And if they weren't going to give me a place or open a door for me, I was going to figure out my own way into it.
Love that.
Thankfully, The Chosen and Dallas embraced it and made it part of the character. And since then, I'm like just trying to own it and run with it and advocate for other people with disabilities, and yeah, make it more commonplace in the industry.
I know you've heard this so many times, but even since you just mentioned The Chosen, that scene between little James and Jesus, I don't think I've like wept as much watching the show than I did in that scene. Because I
Thanks.
was personally going through like certain health stuff, and it's just like thinking back to it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna start crying. You do so good. Like, what did
Thanks.
getting that role and knowing your journey, what did that do for you? And like, I know in that moment you were probably not acting.
No, no, there was like booking the role was one thing like that, because that was before all of season one. I had no idea my character would go in that direction.
Right.
And then, so I was just excited to have a job and an acting job and have more footage for my demo reel and like something on my resume. And then meeting friends on set was amazing. But then it was like once they made my disability part of the character, that then the role took on a whole new meaning. It added a new layer to the character, took a whole new meaning to me personally, and totally changed the trajectory of everything for me. And yeah, so that scene was terrifying, and it was the last day of shooting season 3, and it was something that like when I got on set, Dallas told me, he was like, don't read Jonathan's lines too much. Just kind of like read it enough to know the scene and to know your cues, but don't over prepare this one. Like this is one that you know it in your soul. Like you don't need to prepare how you're going to say it or anything. So I didn't. I just memorized it. I tried to not say it out loud even that much, because I didn't want it to feel rehearsed, or like I knew, like I didn't want to develop a way of saying certain words or lines. So I just kind of memorized the words and then showed up. And yeah, it was such a cathartic experience. It was almost like I've done some EMDR therapy, which is all about
Yeah.
going into your traumatic
Yeah.
experiences and like deconstructing them. And
I've
it
heard
felt
that
like
it's
that.
really like works wonders
It's
when you do that.
insane. Yeah, it's really powerful. And that's what it felt like. It was like going into my inner, like, my deep insecurities, and having a literal come to Jesus meeting of like, why did you make me this way?
Right.
And then there was a couple moments in that scene where Jonathan, when it was on me, when it was my coverage, where he, usually this is like discouraged for actors, but in this particular case, he knew it was fitting, where instead of calling me James, he called me Jordan in a couple of takes, because he knew it was so close to me. And yeah, it just was really heavy. And by the time I was done, I felt like I was hit by a truck. Like just emotionally, I was so drained and tired, and I almost felt sick, like, but in a good way. It was like I got so much out. I like purged this, these insecurities, and it was yeah, it was such a special experience.
What do you hope, like, especially, I mean, yes, adults too, but kids watching that relate to that, what do you hope they take away from that? What message are you trying to send to them?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest thing is that they belong, and that they're worthy, just because they look different or walk different or think different or feel different. Like that they are just as worthy of love as any other child, as any other human. They're just as capable, and in many instances, like, people with disabilities have to be innovative and have to figure out ways to do things in a totally new way. And it's something that it can become your superpower. It's something that, like, it's all about how you view it. And that's honestly what helped me view my own disability as like a strength rather than a weakness, because I met specifically kids with similar disabilities and had them reach out. I met a young girl who was just cast as the lead in Annie at her middle school, who has cerebral palsy and scoliosis, and it affects her in the exact same way mine affects me. She went to the same hospital. Her right leg is shorter than her left leg. And she came up and was like talking to me about this play with her mom. And I remember leaving that encounter and just being like, that little kid, that child is perfect the way she is. There's nothing wrong with her. Like it's not in spite of her disability that, it's because of it. Like that's all a part of her, and I wouldn't change that about her. And that was the first time I was able to be like, well, why can't I see that in myself? Why can't I view myself in that way? So yeah, like kids have helped me. Kids with disabilities in particular have helped me see the beauty or the potential or the strength in myself. So I hope that seeing that scene, it can have that same impact on them.
It does. Do you have these types of conversations with your own kids surrounding this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Even on the way to school, just now, I was talking to my oldest. She's almost 11 and so curious and so passionate about, like, you know, people being treated fairly, and gets so mad if, like, you know, someone says something about, like, oh, well, girls don't do that. Where she's like, yeah, they do. Yeah, they can. Yeah, they do. And it, like, if someone made a comment once about, you know, someone being fat or overweight, and she was just like, that's so what? Like, why does that matter? Like, she's very much the type of kid that, like, doesn't think of any of that, any of the materialistic things, or, like, you know, physical appearances or any of that. She is really big about focusing on what's in someone's heart. And I love that. So we are always having conversations about that, and about her experiences with bullies, or how to stand up for others that are being bullied. And that's something in hindsight, like in high school, I was in the throes of it. So it's like, I just wanted to be hidden. But if I ever could go back, I'm so grateful for all of my experiences. But if I could go back to any period of my life, I'd want to go back to high school to, like, speak up against the bullies, and, like, stand up for the other kids that I knew were also being bullied. Because it makes the kids that spoke up for me, you know, even the ones I wasn't super close to, I'll never forget them. They were the ones, it literally is life-saving. Like, you know, I had a lot of suicidal ideation as a kid, and because of that. And it was, you know, the kids that, I'll give them a shout out. Kelsey Robinson was one. Aubrey Chestner. Those were two friends in high school that, like, were just smiling at me, or, like, checking in on me and saying hi. Like, that was such a huge thing for me, because it showed me that some people cared, that there were people that wanted to treat you with love and respect and dignity and kindness. So that's, if there's one thing that my kids take from me, I hope it's to treat others with that kind of value and love.
Amen to that, honestly. And I'm so sorry you had to go through that. And it's sad, because why, you know, kids can be so mean, and it's so sad. And I've personally went through, you know, I think a lot of people have went through bullying, and for different reasons. But for you, the fact that you're teaching your kids now to do those things, as you said, okay, I wish I did that a little bit more. But when you're younger, like, you're just trying to hide from it. Like you said, you don't want to face it, and you don't know it's like, you know, your worth, but you don't know it to the full, like, depth that once you become an adult and you start seeing things, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm worthy of this. It's so special that you do advocate for these types of things, and you're very, like, outspoken about it, because it's important, and people need to know these things. People need to, like, be aware of these things. As an artist, now shifting gears, you know, acting wise, you said you started at 6 years old, down the street, theater, all that stuff. Now, years later, how would you say you've grown or changed in your craft? What's your, like, has your perspective changed?
Yeah, I mean, as a little kid, it was mostly about the camaraderie and the relationships, and finding a community, and, like, feeling like I fit in somewhere. That was the main draw for, like, theater and acting. And I loved performing. Like, there's obviously the excitement and the adrenaline you get, like the all of the chemicals that you know you're flooded with whenever there's applause or whenever there's a laughter or they're crying when your character dies or whatever. That's definitely invigorating. But that was initially what it was. As I got into my teens, it became more about hiding my insecurities, where I could pretend I'm someone else. I can be these other characters, and I'm not me in those moments. So that was the big attraction then. And then after The Chosen, now it's become about, no, like I want to fully like reveal all of my deepest wounds and insecurities and use that for good. Like now it's about owning myself rather than hiding myself. And in doing that, it's like that saying, like, you name your demons and it takes the power away from them or whatever. That's kind of the principle. It's like, now that I've named my insecurities, that I've acknowledged them, that I can articulate why I felt insecure about them, I no longer feel as insecure about them. I know it no longer has as much power over me. Even if it does pop up from time to time, it's still something that, like, I've taken control back. And the more I talk about it and the more I use it in my work, the more empowered I feel. So that's to me, it's all about being fully vulnerable and allowing yourself to be laughed at, or to make a fool of yourself, or to just not taking yourself so seriously, and owning all of the parts of you. There's a song. I don't know if you've done the Enneagram personality test.
We did it.
But oh yes, we did. We did. That's right.
You told us to, like, a while back. I think last year when we were hanging out.
So I'm the achiever, and there's a song. Did I play that song for you?
You might have. I think it's something. Why am I recollecting?
It's called "Sleep at Last," and there's one for the 3, Enneagram number 3, which is the achiever, and the lyrics are, like, one of the lyrics is crazy, but it's like, it's so exhausting on this silver screen where I play the role of anyone but me, which it's supposed to be like this metaphor, but for me, it like hit really close to home. And then at the end, it talks about, I finally see myself unabridged and overwhelmed. What is it? I'll put my greatest failures on display with an asterisk, worthy of love anyway.
Wow.
And that's what I'm slowly starting to realize about myself, is that, like, I don't need to hide the things I'm ashamed of. I don't need to hide my flaws or my insecurities. Like, own it all. And in spite of all of that, I'm still worthy of love. And that's how my perspective as an actor has shifted.
Yeah, so good. That's so special. I love that.
Thanks.
So, now we can end the therapy session, most likely, right, for just talking about all these deep, very important topics, though. You and I have shared a grandpa, I feel like, and many other people, because Coach Whitey from One Tree Hill is someone that we all saw as, like, a grandpa for all the One Tree lovers out there, One Tree Hill lovers out there. What was it like for you, literally growing up with a grandpa who, I don't know, who was on this show that was so big at that time? I mean, did that world feel so much closer and, like, natural to you because of your grandpa? Or did you still feel like, okay, I really need to, like, I don't know, find my place in it?
Let me actually, here, I'm going to grab something to show y'all.
Ooh.
Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So this is from People magazine in, like, 1993 or something. So that's me, that's my grandpa, and that's my mom. So my grandpa was, hold on, let me put that down. So when I was born, my mom, actually I'll go back to when my mom was born. So my mom, it was born to my grandpa and his girlfriend at the time. But they had broken up before she knew she was pregnant. And then after they broke up, she found out she was pregnant, had my mom, put her up for adoption. She was adopted by my adopted grandparents in Arlington, Texas. So she grew up knowing she was adopted. And at 25, she had me, and I had all my medical issues. So she was like, I'm going to seek out my birth parents and see, like, hire a private investigator to track them down. Just to see if this is, like, hereditary, if there's anything else I need to look out for and she found them, and it turned out that, her dad, my grandpa, was one of the stars of Northern Exposure, who, or which at the time was like the second most popular TV show behind Friends, back in the 90s. And it was this massive show, and my mom loved the show without ever realizing she's watching her own dad. And he ended up moving back to Texas. We moved in with him. My mom and dad had just gone through a separation. So me, my mom, and my sister moved in with my grandpa and my older brother. And yeah, we made up for lost time. And we knew he was an actor from, age 3. I was on set with him on Northern Exposure. And then, being on the One Tree Hill set. And which is funny, I've actually become friends since then with Bethany Joy Lenz, after meeting her for the first time when I was 14 on that set, or maybe even 13.
So cool.
But yeah, it was just such a unique experience, and I didn't realize at a really young age what he did. Mampaw is what I call him, and I did all this theater, and he did film, and to me it felt like two different things. Especially being on film sets with him, it's like you're not acting, you're just waiting and sitting around. So it felt different from like theater. And then once I got older and realized like, oh yeah, it is the same thing, and I could do that too. Then it was really cool getting to like go on set with him and kind of figuring out like it prepared me before I ever acted on a set. I had already been on, dozens of sets, and was fully prepared for the waiting and the like change of plans that pop up every now and then because of weather or whatever. So that was another thing that helped, I think, prepare me for this business.
So cool. And you mentioned how you transitioned from theater eventually into TV. What was your first ever TV audition?
Oh, first audition. I don't know what the very first audition was. I do know I did like the first 2 TV shows I ever did. I can't remember which came first, but it was R.I.P. Walker, Texas Ranger. I was an orphan in a Christmas episode of that, and then I did an episode of Barney, which both of those shot in Texas, I think in Las Colinas, Texas. So I did both of those, and then I did a few, like I did a Nickelodeon show called Just Jordan, which wasn't about me. That was just like,
I was the star of it, Just Jordan.
Yeah. But I like a little co-star role in an episode of that. And yeah, I did a lot of like little things here and there, a lot of extra work. I was actually friends with the group I came up with in LA, and it was like all the Disney and Nickelodeon stars of like the early 2000s. So, yeah, I was so like cool. In class with all of the Nathan Kress from iCarly, and I grew up doing theater in Arlington with Jennifer Stone from Wizards of Waverly Place, and all these people that like it was it wasn't a Disney or Nickelodeon thing, but like the Pentatonics, like 3 of the Pentatonics people we grew up with in Arlington. Scott Hoying used to do voice lessons in our house, where our voice teacher, me and my sister, she used to teach in our living room.
Wow.
And he would come do voice lessons, and he was not good at first. He was but to his credit, he's very good now. Yeah. So yeah, I was just always around people that were like doing this at a high level, and it was, it's That's just always so felt cool. Natural.
What would you say was like the craziest audition story you have, if there is one?
There's a few. Hold on, let me think. I mean, there's like one. Some of the negative ones were like people asking me to try it without the limp, or like lose the limp or tone the limp down, thinking it was like a character choice. Those were always tough. But then there was like commercial auditions, like suck. I hate commercial auditions so much, where they're just so awkward and weird and like not natural. And that's one of the reasons I veered away from theater, which I love theater, but it's a lot bigger. You have to be louder and project, and your movements have to be bigger so that people in the back row can see you. But like, I prefer the closer, more intimate style of acting that you do on camera. And that's something that like in commercials, it doesn't feel natural. Like it's very campy a lot of the time. So I've done some really awkward commercial auditions. I did one, I actually booked, I got a call leaving the audition, the callback, that I booked it and to go home and pack because it was shooting in, I think, Venezuela. And it was like an international Orbit's gum commercial. But then they called me again while I was packing, and they were like, actually, they're going another direction because they wanted someone with blonde hair. But it was like they wanted two nerdy guys, like super bad style, like Jonah Hill, Michael Cera, that are on the beach somewhere in South America, and this like South American woman walks by and doesn't want anything to do with us, but then we eat Orbit's gum, and then she's like all into us.
Yeah.
So they had us show up in swimsuits and do this audition and like just improvise. So I'm like doing really bad Spanish, like trying to like improvise with this actress, and like it was really fun. That was a fun audition. But it was just awkward and vulnerable. You're in a swimsuit, and like it just feels weird.
Was it like a little Speedo?
It wasn't. I would have done it though. But there's I think the most, it's not crazy, but it is because it was really cool. I got close to booking Breaking Bad, and that's like kind of the role that got away. Walter Jr., where it was like I made it through a few rounds of that, and it was one that like the Sherry Bialy and Sharon Thomas or Sharon Bialy and Sherry Thomas are the two that the casting directors for that at the time, and they were so great about like I went in an audition. They wanted you just with your like if they wanted people with cerebral palsy and to just come in as you are. And I did the first round, and they were like they loved the audition, but it wasn't like severe enough. Is there any way you can get some forearm crutches and come back? So I did, and they worked with me on slurring my speech, and it was like almost like a private coaching session where they were working on it with me because they wanted me to get to the point that they like wanted the character. So that was a crazy experience because they took the time to do that. So that was really, really special.
That is cool. Yeah. What's the weirdest note a director has ever given you? And I have a feeling, I'm curious.
It might be Dallas. Yeah. It could be. I'm trying to think if there's another one. It might be Dallas. Honestly,
Jenkins.
At Dallas Jenkins.
We're gonna tag him.
Yeah, it could be him. Where sometimes, so like Jordan is very active and like always playing football. Little James is not as active. Little James is, the storyline of Little James is that his disability is getting worse, and that he's that while his disability is getting worse, Jordan is still just as active. So there are times where I get up really quick or really easily from the ground, or I move really quickly, and he's like, "Hey, I know that you're like more physically abled. Little James is not. I need you to pull it back." So there are times where I have to like focus on limping more, which is really unusual as an actor because I spent my whole career trying not to limp because I felt like that's not what they wanted. That's an unusual one, but it's also, it makes sense for the character. So it's like, that's one that I never thought that I would get, that like tone up the limp versus tone down the limp. I never thought that would be a note that I'd get, but I'm grateful. I'd rather lean more into it than like try to hide it. So, that's definitely one, but, I can't think of any other crazy notes though.
That you can say.
That I can say, yeah.
Realistically, it's so funny because Jordan's just like out throwing the football constantly with Giovanni and others. Like, so it is so funny because you're so like athletic. Yeah. Right? For in real life, like you were saying, like you're always trying to like play around and do stuff, so I could see why he's like, all right, let's tone it down a little bit for
let's pull
James.
it back a little. Yeah, there's I do want to say it's not really a note, but it's one just a name drop for a second, but also shout out because he's awesome and I'm so excited for him. But Ryan Coogler, who just won the Oscar for best screenplay, working with him just one day on Wakanda Forever was so cool because I was so nervous going into that. I'm such a Marvel fan. I have my own like over there, my own little shelf for just the Marvel movies and like a little Black Panther figure over there. But that was such a intimidating thing to go into. But to his credit, that's, $150 million movie that he made feel like a little indie. Like the way his set felt, the way he greeted everyone, and the like let us play around. He'd come
I feel
over.
like because of probably his football background, like being an
Yeah,
athlete
I
and
think
then
so.
going into that, it would make sense why he's like, oh, let you
Yeah.
guys play around and be more like
Yeah,
open.
he would. He'd come over and like whisper something to like Martin Freeman or to me and like have us do different bits with each other or like try different improvisations. And
So cool.
that was really cool. Like that was a experience where I was like, okay, if I'm ever directing, I want it to be like that kind of vibe where
Yeah.
people can really play around with it and just have fun and feel safe doing that.
Which is a perfect leeway to what I wanted to ask you next is what has been like one of the most fun or interesting sets you've gotten to work on?
I mean, I feel,
Obviously, besides The Chosen.
yeah. I mean, The Chosen has become like a home where it doesn't
Yeah.
even feel like a set anymore,
Yeah.
really. Like, I've gotten so comfortable. I know, like, if I've got to poop, I know where the bathrooms are. I feel like totally at home there, which that's a big deal for me. I need to know
Which
where
will
the
take me
bathrooms
into
are.
my next question,
Okay,
but we'll
good.
get there later.
But on, I'd say like, I mean, Black Panther, I was only there one day. It would have been awesome to be there longer. Probably 1883 because that was such a huge budget. Like playing, you grow up watching, like especially with my grandpa, I grew up watching westerns. So being a part of and like playing the Oregon Trail like computer game, and then being on the Oregon Trail and like we'd have 50 covered wagons and being pulled by horses and other
So
people
cool.
on horses and then 300 immigrant extras and then even just in the principal cast, like which is those of us that had names or lines or whatever, there's probably another 40 of us on top of the 300 extras and then the stunt people and like getting to just experience such big set pieces and like tornado scene and shootouts and like we had the big like the scene where there's like battle scenes that where my character, spoiler alert, doesn't make it. It's been out for years though, so you should have seen it by now. But there's like all these really really cool things that it felt like being a kid, like watching these westerns and being like, oh cool, I get to be here, like and have a
I'm
front
in
row
it.
seat and be in
Yeah.
it and like that was cool. And just I felt so prepared for that because in The Chosen we're out in the elements in the heat and the
Yeah.
cold, sweating, getting hurt, like all this stuff because we're out in fields and like there's
Yeah.
bug bites and you fall down. I fall down every season of The Chosen, I feel like. And it's so going from that to 1883 was still challenging, but I was like, I felt uniquely prepared and qualified to be a part of it because I was like, oh yeah, I'm outside sweaty in the fields for 12 hours. Cool. Like this is what I do all the time. So, yeah, that was a really, really cool experience.
Love it. That is super cool. If you guys haven't watched it, go watch it.
Yeah.
This takes me into, I love asking people this question. What is one of the most embarrassing moments you've had in your life?
Ooh. I mean,
Make
there's a
it juicy.
few. Yeah. I mean, it is a little bit juicy now that
We want it juicy.
Yeah. Literally. I could get into, like, I have a lot of poop stories.
Which we love
I've
on
told.
this podcast, apparently, because that's always the popular.
And those are embarrassing, but they're like, I'll do a few quick ones. They're all bathroom related though. But one, and this is probably the most embarrassing because it was so public. It was something where most of my other stories are more like it's embarrassing
Is this the
with me and
first date
someone
with
else.
Stacy or no?
No. I mean, that was embarrassing, but
We can get into that.
I'll
Maybe
tell
too,
that
if you
too,
want to,
yeah.
if you're open to.
This one was, I was in a show called The Littlest Wise Man, which is like a nativity play at a really nice theater called the Scott Theater. In Fort Worth. And after I got done playing Tiny Tim for 4 years, I moved into playing the Littlest Wise Man for 4 years. It was like a tradition. I always was in a Christmas play, and it's about this little shepherd boy who goes to like baby Jesus when he's born. It's very Shakespearean, the dialogue. I was like 12, I think, 11 or 12, and I had like basically all the dialogue in this play, almost. A huge portion of it was my character, and I never leave the stage. Other than like at one point I leave the stage, I exit like stage left and I come back out on stage right. And that's it. Like I'm never off the stage for any scene. So I was doing the show. Normally I would like use the restroom before I would start just in case. But if I have to pee, I can hold that forever, typically. For whatever reason though, I didn't go to the restroom before. And then like 2/3 of the way through the show, it hit me and I was like, I really, really, really have to pee. And it was like I was about to burst. And there's a scene where my character's standing there with this, like my back to the audience, looking up at this angel she is on wires being lowered down, and she's like saying this big speech to me. And there's a spotlight on me, and all the other shepherds are sleeping on the stage around me. So as I'm looking at her, my back is to the audience, and it's an audience that's like, it goes way up high, and there's like, I don't know how many hundreds of seats there. And I'm standing there, and then I just started to pee. Like once it happens, once a little comes out, it's like you can't stop, you can't turn it off. The valve has opened, and you see a puddle start to form around my feet, and it was like a nightmare. It feels like that sounds like a nightmare someone would have. And then I finished the show. I had to finish the last like 15, 20 minutes of the show covered in pee. Thankfully, I had like my costume was very similar to Little James's costume, actually, where I have like this robe, so I was able to kind of hide
It wasn't as
most
wet,
of it. Yeah. But as soon as it was done, I ran off stage and took my pants off, put it in like the dirty laundry. And then the other boys got back there and they were like, dude, did you pee your pants? And I was like, no, the fog machine was leaking and it smelled like pee. It was disgusting. And it was very obvious I peed myself though. And then, and then I have a lot of poop stories. Like Stacy and I, who we've been together 16 years now, we'd been dating a few months. She flew out to LA to visit me. And I took her to this, like 500 Days of Summer. I think the park's gone now, but there's like this bench that overlooks downtown LA. And we liked that movie. So I was like, oh, that'll be romantic. So I took her to my favorite burger spot, Jack's Burgers in Studio City. And it's like a little burger stand. And that used to be right outside of like my acting studio that I would do classes at. So we went there, and I guess the burgers were off this day. So we were driving. We parked like 7 or 8 blocks away from the park because it's downtown LA and it's impossible to find parking. And we walked there, and as we were getting close, I was like, I could feel the rumble, and it was not good. And we finally got to this bench and sat down. And I was like, let's just sit here for a little bit. Maybe that'll help. It was not subsiding. So I was like, I have to go to the bathroom now. Like, this is an emergency. She was like, can you go behind a tree? And I was like, it's not that kind. Like, I need to find a toilet. So we were like looking around. There's a hotel up the hill, like maybe a block and a half away. It wasn't too far, but I was like, a hotel is always a good bet. If you have IBS, because that's like, they usually have a restroom in the lobby and you could just pretend that you are, one of the people staying there. So, she was like, let's go. So we got up and we started to run, and I took like 5 steps, and again, it just happened and was not solid. And that was one time that like I'm standing thankfully my pants were kind of tight, so everything was kept in. And we then had to walk through downtown LA. She had to find some, like, we went through Koreatown, and she went in to some store and found like sweatpants and bought them for me. And everyone walking past us are like, oh my God, like it's just hitting them. And we went into this, I found a bathroom through like the kitchen of this fish market thing, found a bathroom and went in there and was in there for like an hour.
Showering in the sink.
Showering in the sink, yeah. And then we left, and we were able to laugh about it. But that was...
That's when you knew she was a real one. You're like, all right, this is going to be my wife.
Yeah, because like, I mean, hopefully we're all lucky enough to be changing your loved one's diapers one day. So,
exactly. So you're like, this is just a preview,
yeah,
Stacey.
Exactly.
Can you get with
Yeah, yeah. And thankfully she could. So, yeah.
She's a real one. We love Stacey. I love that story. Okay, since we're on the fun topics, I want to ask some more fun questions. Okay. What's an irrational fear you have?
Ooh, an irrational fear. That's interesting. I guess an irrational fear. I mean, probably would be that like everyone's mad at me. Like that's I saw a meme and it was Alice in Wonderland with the Cheshire Cat and it says everyone's mad here and then she says at me, and that's me. Like that's how I feel
That meme.
because like again, it's like that codependent thing of if the people
Yeah.
that are around you, like someone could just be in a bad mood
Yes.
and I'm just like, what did I do? How can I
Yeah.
fix this?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably my biggest irrational fear. Is that people are mad at me.
That's
I'm
a
always
good
stressed
one.
about that one.
That's
Yeah.
a good one. I feel like that's relatable.
Yeah.
What is like your go-to like comfort food like you can have anytime?
Ooh. Probably any breakfast food. Like I could eat pancakes or French toast
Okay.
and eggs and bacon, like, or even if you want to do like Southern style, like biscuits and gravy.
Yes.
Yeah, breakfast I could eat any day, all day.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, relationship ick. It can be either one you have or one of that Stacy has of you.
Ooh, those are both good ones. I'd say a relationship ick would be someone who, like, if someone is overly possessive, like where there's something that like if you are, I'm trying to think, I don't want to like throw any exes under the bus, but if you're like there's situations where like I think that in a relationship it's nice when you're able to just bring someone into your life and they automatically are embraced and embrace the other people that are in your life, where there's that. So when if there's someone that comes in and it's like there's automatically friction where they're like possessive either, or have like a competition with your friends or your family or things like that, it can be tricky. But at the same time, someone that's overly attached to, like, where they're not able to compromise on things, if someone's, so I think it's great to be close to your parents, but if it's like a situation where you're just always going to your mom about like venting about your spouse or things like that, then that is a problem, where it's like there are certain things that need to be with your spouse.
100%.
So I think that's one.
Those are good ones.
But yeah, because I think for me, and Stacy and I have always had to, like, as in any relationship, find that balance of like feeling independent, where it's like one person may feel more loved when they're just being supported, but they're able to kind of do their thing. But then the other one's like, no, we need to do it together. So just finding the balance between the two.
So true.
But actually, no, I'll take it back. The biggest ick for me would be someone, because I'm thinking back to exes as well. Just trying to, it's been so long since I've had any other relationship too.
Yeah, 'cause you've been with
together
Stacey forever.
Since I was 20, 16 years now. But like thinking back, anytime someone's rude to waiters or rude to like, retail workers or anything like that, that's a big one for me, because like I don't like that. Like I'm, even if we have, it takes a lot. Like it has to be just a completely rude waiter that doesn't care about anything, that like gets everything wrong, that isn't trying, that's like, or that's not attentive, like, and you're their only table. Like then there's times where I could be like, okay, that's annoying. But even then, 20% is the floor that I tip. So it's because I've been a waiter before. Like that's,
it's always a good sign. I mean, it's a known thing that anytime you're like on a first date or a few first dates, the best way to like get a feel for someone and how they are isn't just how they treat you, but how they're treating the people around you. Because if someone wants something from you or enjoys getting attention from you, they're going to treat you well. But then it depends on how are they treating everyone else around them. Besides the people who give them. You know what I'm saying? So yes, that is a really good one. What is like a movie that you just can quote for, I mean, you probably, knowing you, especially the game, that you quote from like beginning to end, where it's like, wow, like this movie I know inside out?
There's a few. I'd say, like Christmas Vacation, I can quote a lot because we watch that every year around Christmas. I could quote Borat. I watched that so much as a kid. I used to be able to like literally, like I think there was a point where I could probably watch the movie and just quote it all the way through. I genuinely think I could have done that with like 90% accuracy. So yeah, I'd say probably Borat. It's a very quotable movie.
Love that.
Yeah.
Your dream role.
Dream role. There's a few. I think it'd be really cool to play like a Frito and Godfather type of character in like a mobster movie. Would be really. I've always wanted to do some sort of like mobster movie, but
So
as like
fun.
the weak, kind of like the rat in the group. That would be really cool.
You're like specifically that.
Yeah, specifically
Like,
that.
I don't want to be Michael or Sonny. I want to
Yeah.
be Fredo.
Yeah. And then I think any time I get to play a villain or like a creepy character or anything like that, I kind of love because it's so different from what like me personally, but also what I've been viewed as an actor. Like I'm usually the best friend or the sidekick or like the goofy characters. So if I get to play a scary character, that's always, that's
Love.
fun.
Now that you're dabbling a lot in writing and the other sides
Yeah.
of the arts, what's your goal with that? Where do you see yourself moving? What direction and within the next like 10 years?
Definitely producing more. I'm learning a lot about that side of things, how to get people attached to projects and how to get people interested in a project to fund it. I have one script that is close to being completed. Like we're doing a lot of drafts of it, but it's close to being ready to like take out and try to get the funding. And there's been some really exciting prospects with that. So hopefully it'll be a feature film. Hopefully that we could start sometime next year. And then a couple of other films that I'm working on as a producer, and then a couple of other things that I'm writing that hopefully those will be out there at some point too. So, yeah, I feel like in this industry, I've seen so many shows or movies that like blow up and there's actors in it that everyone's talking about for like 6 months and then or less, maybe even a couple of months, and then they're just gone. Like it's like it's like, what happened to that actor? They were so good in that. And it's like, it's because it's hard to keep that momentum going.
Right.
And with us on The Chosen, I want to ride that momentum as much as I can, but I also am aware that like just being around my grandpa for so long, that there's so many dry spells and times where it's like, oh yeah, we're not interested in your like type right now, your kind of character or the role that people know you as. That's not like in. So for me, I want to do as many diverse characters as I can, different types of roles, and different types of stories as a writer and as a producer, because I know, like, I don't want to depend on the industry to cast me or to give me another break. So I want to create my own opportunities and create opportunities for my friends that like I love working with, and
Cool.
find roles for them, and just kind of like Adam Sandler and his gang, just doing stuff with the people that you work well with. So
Yes,
yeah.
that's so cool. You talked about riding that momentum and The Chosen. As we enter the final season,
I know.
how does it feel after sustaining a role like Little James for so long?
It's crazy. Like I've the scripts right there actually for season 7. I was just looking at before y'all came over. It's really surreal and bittersweet, and interestingly, I thought I would be more broken up about it, and I'm sure I will be when we're shooting or when we're in those final days, and like I'm checking off the days on set, and I'm like, oh, we have 5 days left or whatever. That's going to be rough. But at the same time, I used to be so anxious about losing the friendships that we made. Like the idea that it's like, oh, that's the end of that chapter. And in the same way you graduate high school, you have all your high school friends, and then you kind of go your separate ways, and you may stay in touch with some, but then there's some people that are such huge parts of your life for those 4 or 5, 6 years, and then they're not anymore. And you're like, it's a loss. It feels like you're losing someone. And I was so afraid of that happening with this group early on. And in seasons 1 and 2, or even 3, that was something I thought about a lot. But now I'm in a place where it's like I have total confidence that like we're all in each other's lives for good, and that it's not. I know I don't have to worry about that. Like we're genuinely a family. Like people use the term chosen family, and it's literally a chosen family for us. And I think that, because of that confidence and that like, the reassurances I have from that friend group, it's sad to leave the character behind, and hopefully there's more for those characters in the future, or potential stories for those characters in the future. But even if this is the very last time I get to play Little James, I feel proud of the work we've done and that we can hang our hats on it. And I'm excited to, continue and see what else this career has in store, and also to support everyone else's careers. Like, I want nothing more than for Giovanni to book some big movie and to be able to go to his premiere and support him, and like for all of us to be able to do that for each other. I talked to Liz and Stan at South by Southwest how we'd leave one of the screenings and be like, I can't wait to be here supporting each other for our own movies, and like telling everyone like, hey, Bella, I have one of my movies premiering at Sundance, like come out and see it. Like
row,
exactly. Like
with posters.
That's the thing that I can't wait for, is like that kind of support, that we found our tribe. So now let's all go out and make some great stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a family forever. That's not even a worry, and it's so awesome to hear you say that. What has been the most difficult part of sustaining a role like Little James for that long, like 8 years basically?
Yeah. I think the most difficult, because at this point it's become so second nature. Like there's not, when I am preparing for it, it's really just memorizing the lines now, because I don't really have to think about what would Little James feel about this, because I just kind of know. And the same is true for all of us, I think, where we've lived in these characters' skin for so long that it's just like, oh yeah, this is what Little James would do. We can trust our instincts.
Is it easy for you to just like snap in, snap out of it?
Yeah, I think so. Like the accent may take a little bit to kind of get going, but to fall back into that like habit. But for the most part, it's really easy to snap in and out. And I think that's going to be the hardest part, is like moving on from this character. Any other characters I play, I have to totally learn from scratch and like figure out, okay, who is this person? Like, what similarities do we have? What are the differences? And I'm excited about that challenge, but it's definitely going to be an adjustment going from this sure thing, and even just like the being able to look ahead to like, oh yeah, we have another Chosen season next spring. So, I'm not super stressed right now about, what my next job is. Like that was the mindset for all of us for 8 years. But now it's like, okay, we don't have a thing the spring after this one, so let's figure it out. Let's go out there and make some other stuff happen.
Well, as Little James and Jordan, just both of you in one, you are the person that, out of every person I ask that I've brought onto the pod or just in real life, when I'm like, all right, when there's a serious scene, like who do you not want around you? And it's always you, because you always do the like fun, crazy things. All it is, like, whether it's a little look that you do or just anything on set. Do you plan to do more of that this season to people, especially for that last
For sure.
run,
I need to find some good prank to get Austin. It's something that like, if there's a scene where, because, and I will say, like, if there's a really emotional scene, typically the thing I love is that we're all really in it. But then if something ever does go bad, if something ever goes wrong, like we told this story at Chosen Con, Allah, who plays Simon Z, he had a line where he's like, we have to go right now. And when we were shooting the scene, he came out and he was like, we have to go right now. And he sounded Scottish. And I was behind everyone, so I didn't really see anyone else at first, but I was like, that was weird. Why did he sound like that? But I wasn't laughing yet. And then I started to look around, and I looked at Austin and then Paris and then Noah, and I saw all of them turning away from the camera, trying not to laugh. And then as soon as I saw that, I'm just like, oh no, I'm done. So I had to hide behind this little like curtain thing that I'm standing behind.
What's the wildest thing you've done? Because I know G's like I can't look at Jordan when I
Yeah.
need to be in the zone. But what's the
When
wildest thing you've
when
done?
we're doing like when there's a scene where we all need to be in it emotionally, I usually won't do anything
Yeah.
because like I'm in it too.
Yeah.
But then when there's a scene that like if there's a group of us in the background, that's whenever no one's safe. If there's a group of us in the background where we're not seen on camera, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just blurry like
Yeah.
silhouettes, and it's really about two people that are 50 yards away.
Yeah.
So those moments, those are the times I really try to make people laugh because it's not going to ruin the take if it happens. So I did one. Me, Austin, and Noah were all playing instruments and singing in one scene, and I think it was Giovanni and like Amber and Liz are sitting there watching us. And as we're playing these instruments, there's a scene between two other characters that's happening in the front of the room. And so we had to mime like we're playing these instruments. So we're just like in the background, but so we can't actually strum the guitars or hit the drum. So we're just like back there, like acting like we're playing the drum and like Noah's stringing them on. But then every now and then he'd accidentally hit a string. So it's just like ding, ding, ding. And like I would actually kind of hit the drum and it would just make a little tap. So that alone was funny because you could just hear all of us breathing and like miming these instruments. So while we were doing that, I would like try to make eye contact with each person in the circle. And they would all look away because it was just such a weird
just
thing to
like-
be doing. And like Noah, I kept, he was right next to me. So I'd be like, Andrew, look at me. Look into my eyes, Andrew. And he like could not look at me in that moment. And then like the other times it wasn't something I did, but like the times that it's hard to look at anyone is like when Luke farted in a take and things like that. It's like there's just those are really really hard times to
So
like
good.
you know to not break, but
good.
it's fun.
Okay, to wrap things up, because I know we got to get to some lunch.
Yeah.
Tummy's gonna start growling. Okay, what would you say to young Jordan now, so many years later, like after all the success you're reaching? I mean, you are now a global face. You are known around the world, and not only are you known, but you're known for something where people are like, I know it's you're not the real little James, but people
Yeah.
look at you as that, and that's like this big weight, and you've reached that. So what would you say to little Jordan, going back and just like reassuring him, or anything you could tell
Yeah.
him?
I mean, I actually just yesterday had a therapy session and talked about that, which was, whenever we're in those moments of heightened emotion, if you're in a fight with your significant other, or if you're, triggered by something at work, whatever it is, that's not you, like it's not your adult logical self, that's your inner child
Yep.
that is going back to the moment that you were first triggered by that thing.
Yeah.
The first time, your dad yelled at you and then all of a sudden your boss is yelling at you. All of a sudden you're back to being a 5-year-old being yelled at by your dad. And that's something that I'm really trying to keep in mind in those moments that I start to feel, codependent or like nervous that I'm being abandoned or that someone's mad at me or whatever it is. So I've been thinking a lot about that. Like, what would I tell? Because this is little Jordan that's feeling this anxiety. So if little Jordan walked in right now and I saw him feeling this, what would I say to this little kid? And I think that really I would just tell little Jordan like that you're enough, that you are worthy, you are capable, and to not listen to what anyone else says. And it's kind of what I would say to my own kids too. Like when my oldest Ellie, she got her hair shaved off, like she wanted a total like buzz cut, and it was so cool looking. And I was like, if you want that, get it. Like it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. There are some people that are going to say, oh, girls have long hair, boys have short hair. Are you a boy? Or, things like that. Kids say mean things. But all that matters is that you feel good with it, like with that haircut, and no one else's opinion matters. So not when it comes to that stuff. And yeah, so that's what I would tell little Jordan, that like, don't give up, keep doing it, that it'll make a difference, and that you're enough just the way you are. You don't need to change any of those things about you that make you who you are. So yeah.
I love that. And it's just such a good reminder that when we are feeling a certain way, or you see someone else feeling a certain way, oftentimes it is the child in them that's
Yeah.
feeling that. And so would you yell at a child? Would you
Yes.
do this to a child? Like you treat, like, yes,
Absolutely.
you wanna treat that person with the uttermost most like love and
Yeah.
respect and like patience.
Yeah.
During that time as they navigate those feelings or those inner traumas. So I love that you mentioned that, and I'm just so thankful for you.
Of
You know,
course.
it's all love.
Likewise.
And,
Yeah.
and it's just super fun to get to talk to you and just let listeners know even more about you and your journey and how you've gotten to where you are today. So
Well, thanks for having me on.
yeah, thank you for taking some time away from your bubble bath.
Of course. Yeah. I'll go hop in after this.
Well, we're going to lunch first, and then
Oh,
you
yeah.
can hop in later. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
G will draw the bath for you.
That'll be good. Thank you.
No problem.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jordan.
Of course. Thank you.